Hi there, this is Popo, I hope you'll fine. Welcome back to the Matches miniature series, where we cover a lot of games of matches that happen on a real board in real life with real people. Actually, these are the friends of a chess club. So, after our last video, where we showed a game with Centaurs, this was their first game, they decided to try out a lot of games regarding Centaurs versus humans, humans versus Centaurs, Centaurs versus Centaurs, even more. And quickly they were a little bored, or maybe a little cursed. They wanted to test other factions. So I came out with the Genies, which is a very cool faction to play when you're a beginner at matches. And they quickly get really hyped by this faction. All except one of my friends. One of my friends was very grumpy about the Genies. He was saying that it was a pretty weak faction and that with correct play with the humans, you can just quickly crush it in few moves. So, okay, why not? So I proposed the game, and we sit around the table. Actually, I was playing white with the Genies, and he was playing black with the humans. And I have to tell, this game is pure violence over the chessboard. You're going to see. Let's show how it's done. d4, d6, e4, e6. So it looks surprising at first how my opponent decided to answer, but actually I guess the aim of his position is to get something very slow, very calm, very steady, and at some time he would try to open the whole thing and get a lot of activity with the humans and try to crush me. And I guess with this strategy he would have succeeded. So I decided to play just very normal moves and wait for him to go for the strike. So I played lamb to f3, knight to f6, vizier to d3, bishop to d7, lamb to c3, and then he struck with pawn to c5. What's the point of this? Here, you want to challenge the centaur, especially this lovely d-pawn, and especially if you want to take here, after recapture, then it gets a lot of activity with this kind of diagonal, with this kind of thing. You can go here, you will have the whole diagonal, you can get your rook there. Like, suddenly the humans were very powerful. So I decided to refuse this and I played d5. d5 for me is a pretty good move because it prevents the knight from developing on c6. So here, of course, my opponent decided to capture and we say, okay, even if recapture, I would have some, I would face some difficulties, but at least I can decide to put the bishop here, put the knight here, and I would have even plans of bishop to e7, then castle, and then we're going to see what we can do. But I decided to recapture first with the lamp on d5. Why? Because I wanted to prevent this kind of bishop to e7 move. And the point is that if the knight decided to remove immediately the lamp, then I would recapture on d5 and this knight would be stupid and couldn't even more develop. So this is why my opponent first decided to develop the knight on c6 and say, okay, I would be able to jump into lovely squares of this, and at some time I would have to trade on d5 when I will have time to, and I have to think about castling. Even he wouldn't be so sure about trading the bishop on e7. So maybe the plan is that he would trade first, move the knight, for example, here, or maybe here to get a tempo of the vizier, get the bishop here, and if it would be kick, could go here, I don't know, and then castle. I don't know. I'm not in his head. But I decided to follow up with a very cool tactic that comes with castle. What's the point of castle? It threats made in one, actually. If you remember, the Gene is a powerful piece as it can go from the top of to the bottom of the board by jumping. And the point is that you can't capture a queen, but you can threat a king this way. So if I just have to slide it, this is check. And then he has to go here, but unfortunately this square is guarded by the lamp, so this would be checkmate. So of course my opponent saw that, and I don't know what he was thinking, because he immediately played tempo at this. Normally you have to think a little, because there's a trap here. You have to play bishop to e7 to be sure that after check you go to f8, then maybe a trade occurs, so with this, and after that, okay, maybe you're not that good, but you can have some counterplay later on. Maybe push f7 and try to castle manually. But here, with tempo, my opponent decided to capture immediately on d5. And I guess this is the blunder of the move that just completely killed the game. And then he was really surprised of how quick he lost the game. So let's go over it. So a pawn captures on d5, and then where do the knight goes? If he wants to go here, that doesn't work. This is checkmate. If he wants to go here, okay, why not? I'm just going to provoke this. So at this point, my opponent thought that it was better maybe to put this here. You can think about this move also. The only thing is that he was worried about this, this, and this. And now the bishop would fall. So yeah, he wouldn't go for this. So he decided to play knight to b4. Why not? So at some point he would gain a tempo over the vizier, but Gin to e1 check anyway. So he has to slide up, and now Gin to e4 check. And now you see that it begins to be very complicated for him, because the thing he didn't want to get for just was on the board. Let me show you why. Here you have two moves. You can block with the bishop, but this is just losing. But you can also put your king on f6. Do you think this is a good move? Absolutely not, because this is mate in 2. So feel free to pause the video and find the mate in 2 sequence. This is very easy. Okay, I guess you got it. The move is just Gin to h4 check. And here you have Chris, cross, apple, sauce. Everything is perfectly fine with all the pieces. This is perfect combination, so the king can't move, and he has to push Leaf's pawn on g5, and of course you're going to recapture it, and this would be checkmate. So my opponent was pretty forced to play bishop to e6. And then I could immediately take the bishop, and then after, for example, recapture, I would have some target here on b7, and even if would get some activity, I could grab this pawn, and then, okay, I would have a very cool advantage, and he's just dead. But I don't know, I decided to impress him a little and go for a very nice win with the Genies to show you, like, okay, this is a powerful faction. Even if you blundered here, I can show you how powerful the Genies can be. So I decided to follow up with lamb to g5, and lamb to g5 is a very sneaky move. Here it goes a lot of pressure here over this bishop, and at some time I would be able to go for a massive attack. And this is not that easy to defend. For example, if you decide to ignore this and just play knight to takes d3, then I just have to play this move. And what are you gonna do? You can't take with the pawn, else I'm going to take, and this is checkmate. So if you decide to ignore this, and after take you decide, for example, I don't know, to put the king away, then I'm just simply going to take the queen. So here this is kind of problematic for him. So you have a lot of ways to deal with it after this lamb to g5 move. You can decide to defend with the queen. Defending with the queen is pretty dangerous, because I just can take the bishop and threat the queen, and the threat to capture. You might say, okay, even this capture with a discover check, you can just play queen to c6. And then that would be a trade, and you'll be better. Not at all. This is not as easy as it looks, because I have this intermezzo move, Gin to h4 check. And now there's direct attack, and whether you decide to move the king here or you block with this, that will be the same result. Let me showcase if you block with f7, that looks pretty good, but actually you just have lamb to e7. And now, okay, you can take this pawn, but this rook is hanging, so you have to slide down this rook, and then I'm going to take here. And you can't move the bishop, this rook is dead. And even if you take here, I'm going to take with check. And now your king is pretty stupid. So that's not a good way to deal with this position. So this is why that my opponent decided to go for something else. What else can we have? If you go here and you decide to retake with the pawn, okay, it looks okay, but you still have this very nasty, excuse me, I took with the wrong piece. You take with this and you take with that, excuse me. Then the Gin comes with check, and here this is even more powerful because the king has only one square, king to e8, and then you sacrifice the Gin, the vizier to g6 with check. You can't move the king, so you have to take, and then you take the rook. And this is even more serious because you can try to get some counterplay with c2. Not at all, because you can't prevent my lamb from going here to h7, and here your bishop is in danger, so you have to defend it with the queen. But now, I would capture it, and this comes with check. If you slide the king up, I'm going to snap this rook, and my lamb is still alive. So you have to take with the queen, I'll take with the Gin, the king captures, and as you see, the endgame is easy peasy. Like, I get all the advantage I want. So of course that can happen. let's show you another line. So with this line, after this, you can decide to go with queen to c8 to defend. This is approximately the same line, so you're going to capture here. Of course, this still doesn't work, so you have to capture with the pawn somehow. And here you would have some kinds of same follow-up. So you go here, you are king to d7, and now you'll play the sneaky Gene to e4. And now this pawn is target, and how are you going to defend this? If you think about sliding the queen in, okay, you're going to lose your rook. And then that would be complicated. Okay, so if you decide to push here, excuse me, what's the point? Yeah, if the queen slide. So if you decide to just push the pawn, then I have something that is very serious here. I can just go lamp to f7 again, rook to g8, Gene takes h7, the bishop can slide and say, okay, my rook is safe. You forgot just something, your queen. This is dead. So here in this position, you're just dead anytime you move. So this is why my opponent decided to go for a slightly different thing. He decided to go for this move of h6. What's the point of h6? He wants to say, okay, you have to capture the bishop with the lamp, and even if you retreat back, I would have time to trade. The only thing he just forgot that I just have to take. And then if you capture back, I'm good. And then he has to move the king. And then I can just snap the queen and game over. But again, I wanted to impress my friend, to show him that the genies are very powerful. So I went with a very cool line here. I'm pretty proud of this one. I went for lamp capture c5 check. You might say this sacrifice a lamp. The thing is that this is not so easy to get this. Because if you decide to refuse that and, for example, move the king here, okay, you're going to face some difficulties, because after here, what are you're gonna do? There are a lot of friends, and I guess I can even get better, because like, you can't really take this. For example, if I decide to take this, then I can have something like a vizier to f4 check. And now you have to be very careful. You can still defend with the bishop, but but then I'm going to trade and try to get back with my stuff here. Like, that's not going to be that easy. But why not? You can try to refuse. In the game, my opponent decided to accept the sacrifice, and then I decided to go for vizier to b5 check. Vizier to b5 check is a thing that allows you to just stay in the game, because if you play accurately, you can survive, but your position is just dead lost. I'm going to activate my pieces, challenge this knight, and I'm still winning at some point. But I wanted to get for something impressive. My opponent thought that playing king to c7 was good because he would be defended. The thing is that after this, you might say, okay, as last time, you would get your bishop in a safe way. But now comes the trick line I didn't mind, and this comes with pawn to d6 check. And I'm pretty proud of this move. What's the point of pawn to d6 check? You have to be very careful about this. If you capture with the bishop, I just have to capture, and this is checkmate. Because my vizier just bounced over the board. If you decide to capture with the queen, you will face the same difficulties, with the exception is that I'm just going to capture your rook. And then even if you can move, I would have a slightly good advantage here. So of course he wouldn't allow this. So here instead he played the only move that I felt that was okay, is king to b6. I just captured on b7, and here I remember that this is protected, so you can't take never on this piece. And then he went to a5. And here you might say, okay, how do we continue? This might be some winning somewhere. Yes, very true. This wins with a3. And this is where my opponent resigned the game, actually. Because what are you going to do? If, for example, you're going to move the knight this way, then I'm just going to go for check. Your king can't move, you have to defend with the knight, and I'm going for double checkmate. Okay? And if you decide, for example, to ignore the threat and play something like this, I'm just going to get the knight and go for check. And then after king captures, that's the only move, I'm going to take here, and this is checkmate. You might even say that you can play some crazy move like this. The only problem is that same problem. like your king is not able to escape, you have to put the knight again and just go with double checkmate. So I agree that I didn't play the best game of my life with this, because my opponent blundered and I wanted to impress him with some kind of lines. But this game shows actually how aggressive the Genies can be when you don't pay real attention. And especially this idea of Gene to E1, because if we go just back from the game, from the beginning, it went very quickly. Like, it begins very soft. We have the exchange, we have the development, we have the castle, and then the blunder happened on move 8, and then, look at that. It's collapsing. Totally collapsing. You can't do anything. And this is on move 18 only that he decided to resign. And maybe if I would have captured immediately the queen, he would have resigned. But yeah, you know what, sometimes you can have some kind of ego, you want to get some very, very romantic stuff. So this is why you should always go for precise play. So I hope you like this game. I was very glad to show you it. Next time I'm going to show you a very, very short game with the Tengus. You can't even imagine how fast this game was. This is a very recent game, it happened a few days ago. And we're going to see each other next time. So see you then. Bye.